At 11:20 yesterday morning, we were called to Cornwall Close in Belle Vale to a report that a 27-year-old male, that we now know to be Carl Russell, who lives in that street, had been shot and sadly fatally. He'd been sitting in a vehicle with his girlfriend, and what we know at this time is that the person who was responsible for his murder has been cycling past that car on a dark-coloured pedal cycle. And when he's got to the car, he's fired at Carl whilst he was inside and then cycled off, leaving Carl to stagger onto the floor where he sadly died. Carl was in a white vehicle at the time. He was in there with his girlfriend. She was in the driving seat when this incident took place. So clearly an absolutely horrendous incident for her to have to witness. And again, at 11:20 in broad daylight, there's a good chance that somebody has seen something in that particular area. Whilst it's quite a quiet street in itself, there are many fields and places, there would have been dog walkers around in the area at that particular time, and they could give us some information that might be vital to solving this investigation. All we can say at this moment in time is it's a male from the local area. He is in his late 20s and he has been arrested on conspiracy to commit murder. And as I've said, that just shows our commitment very, very early in this investigation to try and identify who is responsible and to reduce the risk to any other, the local community because of the concern that we'll have, and to try and get some closure for this as soon as we can for Carl's family. From what we know and what we've seen at this moment in time, this was a targeted attack at Carl, and clearly the gunman intended to kill Carl, it would appear. It's a sad incident. It's really, really sad for the family, and the community, I'm sure, will be concerned in that area. So we are increasing our police patrols in the area. There will be more local officers from Liverpool, there will be matrix officers, and there will also be some of the mounted officers in the area, and I'd encourage people to come and talk to them for that reassurance. But be under no illusion, we will not stop until we identify the person responsible for this attack and bring them to justice for the sake of Carl and Carl's family, and because it's the right thing to do for Merseyside. What I can say is that gunman was very, very distinctive in that he's described as being in his late 20s, of medium build, he's white, and particularly of note, he had a very distinctive jacket that he was wearing, a long, high visibility orange jacket, which the bottom third was dark blue and there was a reflective band on the bottom. So I'm appealing for information from members of the community who would have been in the Belle Vale area, specifically in Sarham Road, in Cornwall Close and in Madeira Drive, which is where that gunman went to after this heinous attack. To come forward and give us information, because they might well have seen him in that distinctive coat either on foot or riding that pedal cycle around the Belle Vale area at around about 11:20, but potentially any time that morning or also after. It might well be that somebody's seen him coming out of an address earlier on and not thought anything of it, but because of how distinctive that jacket is, someone will know who he is, so I want them to come forward. It may also be the case that we've got people who are driving around the Belle Vale area who've picked him up on dashcam footage, and they might not even realise that. So if you were in Belle Vale and you have a dash cam in your car, please check that dash cam to see what you did pick up, and if you've got anything on there that shows a male either on foot or in a pedal cycle with that distinctive a luminous orange jacket, please ring us on Crime Stoppers. I do realise that there will also be people in the community who will know the gunman was by name, and I need that information because ultimately there is a family now who are grieving this morning who don't have Carl with them because he's been killed by whoever was responsible for that murder. What we have done overnight is to try and identify that individual who's responsible. We've carried out a number of search warrants, particularly in the Belle Vale area, and we've now got one male in custody on conspiracy to commit murder of Carl. And we won't stop until we identify the individual who's responsible for this attack, because we need to do that for the communities of Merseyside, but particularly for Carl and the family that he sadly left behind.